everyone, and welcome to the LMF Life Skills Summit. We're so excited for you to join us today. So please connect, share your thoughts, write your comments, your questions in the comment section, and get ready to get some great advice from our incredible speakers. Before I start, LMF Network is on a mission to level up the confidence and careers of women and professionals globally. Our goal is to build the confidence and careers of 25,000 women by 2025. This is why LMF is hosting the summit to introduce the new e-platform, which is filled with masterclasses, mentoring, valuable resources, and community forums to level up your career. By joining this panel or any of the panels through the LMF Summit, we are giving you a free trial of 1 month that you can sign up on the website, which is lmfnetwork.com. So without further ado, let us get started with our first panel, which is Maximizing Mentorship to Strengthen Your Self-Confidence. And we are joined by Kiran, Nazarian, and Sonia. So I'm just going to start with the first kind of question, and then you guys can introduce yourself and start sharing your input. So often people can be plagued with self-doubt and feelings of imposter syndrome or shyness in the workplace, but having a mentor in your corner helping to navigate you through these barriers with small actionable steps can go a long way in helping to build your confidence. So there seems to be a range of different expectations related to the term mentoring or coaching. Can you explain the difference between coaching and mentoring? So Kiran, you can start, and then Nazarian, you can give your input.
Hi, everyone. I'm so thrilled to be here. I think what the LMF network is doing is absolutely incredible. And I'm so excited for this panel and the panels to come. So my name's Kiran Nyota, and I'm an empowerment coach stroke mentor. So I use both these terms. So this is a perfect question. And I primarily work with women on their leadership, on building their legacies. And this landing into this work has really come from that space of realizing just how important this is. You know, this piece on confidence, on self-doubt is something which, if we're not talking about, it's something you can feel is a very isolating experience. So when through my own experience of coaching, of mentoring, it's something I realized that actually more women need this. And specifically women, just because I think women in leadership is kind of this new frontier for many of us. You know, we don't have as many role models or networks as perhaps men have, since that's much more established. So it's really exciting to work in this space with women. In terms of the difference between mentoring and coaching, so the reason this is, first of all, that there's confusion is because coaching and mentoring are a relatively new industry. So it's not regulated. There isn't this idea that this is exactly what you have to do. And that makes sense because there is a science to it. There are tools to take people through. But at the same time, it is an art form almost. Each coach is going to bring their own flavor to it. Coaching would be specifically like anybody, a coach can coach anyone. So coaching will be specifically about asking certain questions and having almost a degree of separation in that you're not giving advice. Whereas I think of mentoring as coaching plus. So coaching plus business advice, or coaching plus, as a woman, I've also experienced this, and this is what I can tell you about my personal experience, or these have been my strategies. But still, I think coaching itself is really the foundation of even a mentoring relationship, in that you don't want to give, a good mentor will not give you unsolicited advice. will not make you feel that they have all the answers. Good coaching and good mentoring will still take you back to yourself and give you the tools that, even beyond that relationship, it's a gift that keeps on giving. For me personally, if clients message me a year later and say, oh, I'm still using the things we did, that for me is such is like one of my measures of success, like helping women get to that space where it really is their self-leadership. So I think whether we're calling it mentoring or whether we're calling coaching, I think that's really key.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think how I see it is the old school definition of coaching or mentorship is leadership, right? So you can offer coaching, mentoring to your team. And that's what I'm also really living by. How I've changed how I show up for my team is essentially how I show up for my clients, and now offering one-to-one support. It's just really helping bring out the best in people and really trying to like give them all that confidence that it's already within you and you just see it in a different light. So thank you so much, Kieran. And Nazirin, you can also start with your differences.
Thank you so much, Sanjan and Kiran. Thank you for helping to clarify what the two terms are, coaching and mentoring. So I call myself the Jumpstart Coach, and that's because I'm passionate about helping people re-energize, let me say reconnect or reignite their energies, because I really believe that all of us have this unique thing that we bring to this world, and that many times it's covered over by so many things, either experiences that we've gone through or fears that we have. But when we're able to kind of unearth that and remove all those layers, and this spark can come through. I mean, just imagine if the world was full of people who are just fully engaged in pursuing their purpose and their goals and their dreams. So that's my passion, and that's what I try to help people to do. And I focus mainly on helping them through their careers, although a lot of it is not just career related, it's across career and just generally in their lives. So I am a career coach, helping people just basically reconnect and get moving and get unstuck with anything that might be holding them back. And so, having said that, this topic was very interesting to me, or being a part of this panel, because mentorship is essentially a tool, or this powerhouse that somebody can utilize to help them reach their goals. I don't think any of us can say that we're an island and we can achieve anything that we want to achieve alone. All of us can agree to that. We will always need some sort of intervention, sometimes from friends and family that we know, but many times from people we don't know, who've been there before us and can help shine the light, perhaps, and guide us on the best possible options to take, etc. So ideally, the biggest difference, just like Kiran put it, with mentorship as opposed to coaching, is that with a mentor brings in their own experience into the relationship. It's a bit more advisory, and they will share what they've gone through and try and help the mentee that way. They get more involved in what the mentee is trying to achieve, as opposed to coaching, where coaching is really providing the space for the coachee to be the best self and find answers, solutions, really within themselves or by themselves, but guiding and helping and providing that accountability. So the biggest difference is really how much the mentor brings into the relationship. But having said that, a good mentor is a good coach. They will utilize coaching skills and tools to really amplify the mentorship relationships. So they are very aligned, but with those key differences.
Yeah, that's great to understand the difference. And I guess for someone to really truly know what kind of, I guess, push they need, is it mentorship, is it coaching? And I think even through experiencing coaching, like it's a little bit of both, right? It's like, again, from within how you're going to now interpret that. And are you actually going to then do the work? Like there's one thing getting the mentorship, getting the coaching, but if you're not going to actually do the work that your mentor and coach sets you, or like that, what you're learning through, then there's never going to be that growth that you really then see the benefits of having that. So Sonia, you can explain a little bit about the LMF mentoring, accountability, and the whole pairing that we do, and what can someone experience from that?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So it's 8 a.m. in the UK. I'm actually jumping in for our mentee, Nayab, who is absolutely smashing it, being on the LMF mentoring program. She is a designer. She's done some amazing work, including kind of styling at the BAFTAs. And that's the kind of impact that our mentoring program can actually support with. So really simply, I founded LMF Network in 2018. And one of the reasons why I founded it was because I lacked community. And I think that's really relevant when we think about mentoring and coaching. Coaching is someone who can give you that actual guidance because potentially they have a structure, a process, and can take you through not necessarily their just experiences, but can unlock various elements about yourself, like self-awareness to learning. But I do find coaching is maybe more structured and a bit more professional. Mentoring for me is really what changed my life. So when I started LMF Network, I started meeting all these amazing people, and I went and actively really seeked out my first mentor that really represented my look, my feel, and what I wanted to do when I grew up, let's say. So one of my first mentors is Davina Paul. I talk about her all the time. She was the first brown CFO in a senior position that I saw in a company that I worked in. I was around 25 when I walked in. I was like, I didn't even know that brown people were like this high up in seniority and that I could do that too. And I remember it just blew my mind. And I was so intimidated to talk to her. I was like, what if she doesn't want to talk to me? And what if she doesn't want to like help me, But I knew that, and I had mentors previously. So I had some great women called, I had Anastasia Petrova. I informally was mentored by Vanessa Vallali. So they were awesome and they were women. And it was really important for me to have like women mentors. But it was different having someone who understood your heritage, your culture, your family expectations and the way that, the structures treat you. So really simply, that was my first mentoring experience. It was going up to Davina at that point and being like, I would love for you to mentor me. And she's like, okay, that's cool. But on what? And I was like, wait, I need to come with like answers? I don't know. Don't you just want to be friends? Like, what's mentoring? And I didn't really know what mentoring was. I was like, we just go grab coffees and we talk about life and structures. And that wasn't it. Mentoring is you go with a plan, you have a goal, you have like milestones to hit. It's not you have like a big goal that you want to achieve. It's not like setting up a business. It may be, I'm stuck in my career and I don't know what my options are. And so can you help me leverage your guidance and just support in what I should be doing? And often I find mentoring is a pay it back or pay it forward type scheme also, which is different to coaching. Coaching I personally find is more one way. So it's a relationship between me and my coach, and the coach is there to guide you as if they were a PT, right? A mentor is fundamentally reverse mentoring, and that's what we really encourage in the LMF mentoring program. So we started our program in 2020 as a pilot, and then 2021 we gave it another shot, and we've mentored over 1,000 people in 18 months with a 98% success rate. We've had people have like 25k pay rises, all the way to new jobs, all the way to styling. Individuals at the BAFTAs to just quitting their jobs and finding new jobs. Like, it doesn't just have to be job related. We've had return to work mothers, we've had fathers, men who have just wanted to understand the new ecosystem. We've had individuals that want to build their social media skills whilst giving back and helping someone to progress. And that's one of the reasons why we've created the new tech platform. And our really mentoring swiping function will come in during the end of the year. But we want to encourage this idea of mentoring, which means that you can informally or formally grab a mentor from anywhere in the world and say, hey, I need that support, but maybe I don't need that long committed some more. I just need some guidance, some help, an answer to a question. And I need to know that someone else out there has either been through what I've been through or understands what I'm going through, or isn't going to judge me for what I've done. And I think that's where it is. Mentoring is really that judgment-free relationship between two or more people, where we're sharing, caring, learning from one another, but most importantly, we're listening and we're supporting one another, each other's goals. And I think that's really what makes it powerful. But what makes it even more powerful is individuals that have mentees or mentors are 5 times more likely to be promoted. Individuals that have mentees or mentors are 3 times more likely to be retained in their workplaces. So mentoring is not just I need to do this. Mentoring is something every business should have incorporated within their structure, because how do you know what you can be or what you can't be, or what the gaps are, or where you can be yourself, if someone isn't enabling you to open the doors? So I really think of mentoring similar to allyship, the intersectional approach that someone is bringing into your life that can support you in the guidance.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And yeah, I think it's a real eye-opener that people know the difference and know what they want to work on. And yeah, like we said, obviously both sides involve your own lived experience. You can only, I guess, teach what you've lived through and what you're currently going through. So having that in mind, was there a time you messed up and felt like you'd failed? Because we've all been there. And how did you bounce back? Azirian, we can start with you.
As I was trying to find an example for this, I just thought there are just so many. Which one should I pick? Because I mean, you fail like every day. But one that really stood out for me, I have a consulting background, and if you've done any consulting work, you'll know how high pressure those jobs are.
Yes.
And you're basically trying to get in, do the work, get out, and keep moving to the next assignment that is already waiting for you. And that environment can really rob you, or if you sink into that kind of just run of the mill type of work, it can rob you from learning experiences. So the reason I say that is because what happened basically was I went into an assignment really just trying to show my skills, or show off, essentially, like, yeah, I can do this, because it was a tough assignment. Actually, nobody wanted to take it up, and I thought, I think I have an idea about how we could do this. I mean, let me take this on and show everybody what I can do. And honestly, it wasn't really in my skill set. And when I looked back at it, I had no business being as overconfident as I was taking on that assignment. It was okay that I did, but I should have, asked for help and been more honest with where I was at with my skills at that time, and asked for support and sort it out continuously throughout the assignment. But I kind of took it, went into my hole, did whatever I thought I did, what essentially I thought was amazing work. Essentially, what happened is a report was thrown out by the client. It didn't make any sense. And we ended up having to redo the whole work. And my senior ended up having to mostly do a lot of the work, because then they had to really get involved in it at that time. So it was just a really huge blunder. But when I look back at it, all I had to do was, one, be honest about my skill levels at the time, and ask for help, really, and guidance. That would have saved everybody a lot of time. But I think sometimes we, at certain aspects, levels of our career, we want to kind of really, like, show what we can do, and be out there and have everybody, like, recognize that they're really good at what they do. And that can be a trap. I mean, it's great, be excellent and be a high performer, but it can also be a trap. Asking for help is not weakness. It doesn't mean you can't do it. And it also taps into the mentorship conversation, really. The person who's been there before and has done that before can help you do it better and faster and wiser. So why not tap into that whenever it's available? It saves everybody a lot of time, and you learn as you go along. So that's just one of many, many blunders. But with blunders or failures, there's always so much learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously being in marketing, consulting, like I've been there. I was always thinking like, okay, because I have this role, I have to know my shit. Like I have to go into this meeting like knowing my shit. And I think that really entered me into this place of scarcity. Like I was so limited in what I can actually do for myself and how do I want to show up for my clients? How do I want to show up for my team? And having this kind of mindset of like, okay, because I'm in this role, I shouldn't ask for help. I shouldn't even like try and seek mentorship or whatever it is. Like I have to figure this out on my own. And you're always going to be in this downward spiral, right? Trying to prove something you're not, but and it's okay to ask for help. And even at this level of me running my own business and running a team, like I still have mentorship, I still have coaching. And that's how I can really explore different aspects of myself and at the end of the day serve better and more powerfully. So thank you for sharing, Kiran. What are some of your failures and how did you bounce back?
Yeah, before I go into that, I just want to say I love this conversation on support because, and I just want to touch on that a little bit before I get into that. I think as women, we can be such givers. So everyone I speak to is like, I want to make a difference. I want to have an impact. I want to do all these things. And then, but there's this difficulty of actually leaning into support and not realizing that your impact is going to just be so much more powerful, as Nasarian's example shows, when you can also lean into support. So being able to do both is actually, I think, one of the skills which I think being mentored really gives you, kind of being able to realize, as Sonia was saying, that you don't have to do this alone. And that community and that collaboration can be so powerful to what you realize you can do. In terms of a failure, so one of the things which all of you must have heard, it's very commonly said in the coaching world, is this idea that there's no failure, there's only feedback. And it's something I've really been trying to really take to heart, because anybody who's trying to do something, yeah, exactly, no failure, only feedback. Anybody who's trying to do something which is pushing you outside of your comfort zone, is going to grow you, is going to involve getting things wrong. And you almost want to fail quicker so that you can learn from that experience and then do it better. I have a very old example in mind, but the first time I spoke on a stage, and I'm talking about like when I was in high school, I actually cried because it was it was such a terrifying experience. And I since then had sort of thought that there is no way I'm going to end up doing something that requires me to show up in this way, in the way that we're doing right now. So I always find it so funny that that has been my journey from starting in this space where the idea of being seen like this was probably the scariest thing for me and failed pretty badly, to now being in a space where I actually really look forward to these kinds of engagements and constantly taking on speaking engagements. And I think the lesson is not to limit yourself. It's one thing. So again, like we said, it's not failure, it's feedback. It's one thing to do something, for it not to work, and for you to decide that that means something about you. And it's another thing to look at it as an experience and say, okay, next time I'll do it differently, or these are my learnings which I can take into the next time, or I can pat myself on the back for even trying. Because especially when you're doing new things or you're pushing yourself into that new kind of space, either pushing yourself for a job you don't think you could previously get, or in your business trying new things, every time you do that, you're going to be a beginner and you're going to make mistakes. And there's this gap where we all have amazing taste. So we know how good it can be, but we don't have the experience or practice to match up to our taste. And that gap is painful because you know how you want it to be, but you're just not there yet. But if you're going in as a beginner and being like, okay, it's fine, I'm going to do my best. And parts of it are going to feel like I'm failing, but I want to fail forward. I'm going to fail and learn from this, and it's going to build me and grow me as a person. What ends up happening is we sit on the sidelines. We're like, I'm just not ready for this thing, and I'm not even going to try because there's someone who can do it better than me. But then you rob yourself from that experience of getting to fail forward, be better, and then do it better than the time after. And that's actually something that I think having a coach or a mentor can give you, just that support to be like, okay, this is scary, but because I'm supported, I have the courage to do this thing, which might not go perfectly, but there is someone I know who's in my corner who's going to have my back no matter how this turns out.
Absolutely. And I think before failure or before this kind of plays out, what comes into most people's mind is a feeling of imposter syndrome, right? Like they feel they just can't do it. They're not cut out for it. Like, why did I even try for this? And I know Sonia is an expert of talking about imposter syndrome. So Sonia, can you tell us a bit more about, just how to deal with this and how I guess mentoring can also help with this?
Yeah, I mean, failure is like my most favorite topic because I wouldn't be here if I didn't fail. Basically, like I actually have a TED talk on it called Failure Comes Before Resilience. Like it took me failing so hard for me to get on the TED stage, you know? So that's just that ironic full circle moment. But I think the point I'm trying to make is I now think of failure as my superpower. I know that I'm going to fail the first or second time I do stuff. I know it. Like there is no doubt about it. So I'm like, right, let me fail really fast because I know it's not going to be great. Let's take some learnings and move forward. A really good example being this summit, right? You all obviously haven't seen the tech issues that we've had in the background, but we've failed the event. As in, what I mean by that is we put the event live and then tech cancelled it. We had to like think on the spot. Some of the links have been wrong. We have to think on the spot. Some of the panelists either can't attend or we haven't been able to put them in. We have to think on the spot. And so it's not a reality of like, oh, you failed and everything is going to crumble and you're going to stop. Failure for me is very much a learning curve. My mother, and I give all credit to her, when I talked about failure, she called it a temporary disruptor. She's like, we were going from point A to B. You're not going to stop going to point B. Like, think about it. You're going out on a Friday night. You've got dinner plans post like pandemic COVID. The tube's not working. The bike's not there. The Uber's not on its way. Okay, cool. You'll find another way to get there because you really want to be there, right? You'll be half an hour late, but you'll still end up where you need to be. That's what failure is. It's just a new path into the same journey. And I think when I started thinking about that, and you couple it with imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome, let's start with the first thing, it's a made up thing. It's not a real thing. Psychologists made it up for high achieving women in 1980s or 1990s because women were like, we're achieving, we're doing great, but we don't know if we deserve to be here. And that idea of not deserving to be anywhere actually blows my mind because today, there's so many spaces I walk into. I'm like, I'm not imposter. I deserve to be on this panel. I know what I'm talking about because you know your area of success. You know what you can do. You know what we're talking about. We had a whole great panel on failure yesterday as well, which you can watch back. But the point I'm trying to make, so imposter syndrome really simply is a feeling that you are a fraud or that you just don't deserve your merits or that you're not successful in your own right? Imposter syndrome is very much an idea. Imposter syndrome is not real. Like, imposter syndrome is an idea that you think that you are not good enough. You think, again, I want to emphasize, you think, you feel, it's not a fact. No one is sitting there being like, factually, Sonia, you are terrible. But I'm not, though. Even when you think about your grades in university, or like, you know, education, which is traditional, you're not a failure because you don't get the marks. Your skill sets, right, like are derived from different areas. So I think that's really important to recognize. So imposter syndrome, there's 5 types of imposters. There's the perfectionist, the superhuman, the natural genius, the expert, and then, you know what, I can't remember the last one, but I know that there's 5 types, and it's super early in the UK. But the point being is that there's 5 different types, right? So how do you know which one you are? The soloist, sorry, which is weird because I'm actually the soloist. The soloist is basically someone who is afraid of asking for help, doesn't want to be caught out. It's like, if I ask you for help, you're going to know that I don't deserve to be here, and then you're going to catch me out, and then you're going to take away my job, and then you're going to take away my house, and then, do you know what? I'm just going to end up in a place that I don't want to be. That's how my brain works, or my brain used to work. And I found myself going to work early and staying at work late because I was like, I don't want someone to know that as a fresh grad, I don't know everything. But you're not meant to know everything. There's no such thing. So the way to combat imposter syndrome is really take a step back. What are your skills and strengths? What are you naturally good at? And where do you need help? Where you need help is where you go and find a coach or mentor. So a great example being is when I started my business. So one of my like second most, you know, formalized mentorship programs and kind of formalized mentors is Mamta Guerra, who I remember took me out for brunch. First she took me out for lunch when I was having a terrible time at work. And she was like, you have to leave. You're ready to leave. Like, you know, you're ready to leave. You know, you can start something with LMF. And I was like, I don't think I can. I'm scared. She's like, no, just do it. Second time she took me out for brunch, she was like, okay, now we went for brunch, and she's like, so take the receipt and do expenses. I was like, expenses? Like me? How can I do expenses? And she sat me down and she structured how to do an expense. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. And then she checked in on me every other week. She's like, are you doing your expenses? Are you sure you're doing it? And the same way that I reverse mentored her, she wanted to get better on social media. I was like, what are your KPIs? Are you posting online? What does your LinkedIn comment say? You know, so it's about like acknowledging your gaps, knowing the people that can fill those gaps, not being afraid to ask for help. And Corinne, to your point, you know, you talked about that opportunity of asking for help, and then being like, you know what, if I failed, well, let's celebrate the fact that I even tried something to get to a point where I had to fail it. So what have you learned along the way? What are the milestones? I've learned I'm not great at admin, but my team know that. So that's one of the first things I say. I'm like, I'm not super great at admin. So my automatic out of office says I'll reply back in 72 hours. My team know that if I don't reply to them in 24 hours, they're going to WhatsApp me. My clients also know that it'll take me anywhere between 3 to 4 days to reply back to them. So what we've started doing is setting deadlines on email so they know that I know when I need to do something. And I think that's really, in summary, what it is. It's mentorship can help you unlock all these new skills and strengths and powers that you didn't even realize. It can help you understand new ways of structuring your day-to-day, which didn't even come to your mind because maybe you don't have the education or the socialization, or like me, or the eldest child in a family, and you're just figuring it out as you go along. And that's the most important thing to share, and kind of for me to end on. Everyone is figuring it out. I said that on a LinkedIn poll yesterday. I said on an Instagram reel. I went to a dinner last night and they were like, look, we're ready to like take our side hustle, but we're not sure if we could do it. I was like, listen, everyone is figuring it out. And they were like, we're so glad you've said that because we thought everyone had stuff together. I was like, no one has anything together. If you see me in my real life, no one has anything together, but we just do what we have to do because also as women and women of color, we have extra to prove. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to prove it because I know I deserve to be in these spaces where other people tell me I'm not. And then not only do I walk into those spaces, but I make a point that you will remember me in that space moving forward.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. And I think some of the tactics that have helped me overcome imposter syndrome, because we know it's not real, is to have an evidence log. I think when you're constantly sped up and you're constantly just, you know, on the hustle, trying to just churn things out for the sake of churning things out, or like even when you're doing amazing things, it's so hard to actually look back at what you've achieved. And sometimes, yeah, it shows to everyone else, but to you, that's when it feels more like it's not real, because you're not actually acknowledging yourself for the stuff that you're achieving and putting out there. So I keep a little evidence log. So if I get really great feedback from clients, or if I had a great session with a mentee, I write it down and I read it the next time that I'm feeling like I'm not good enough, or I'm feeling like I can't do it. And the other thing that helps me when I'm in the moment of just these thought created realities of like, yeah, everything is going to shit and everything is going wrong, and like, why am I doing this, is just asking, is it true? Like, do I know deep down it's true? Like, can I Google it and Google will tell me, yes, and you're shit and you shouldn't be doing this and you shouldn't be running a business? Like, it's not true. And it sometimes becomes so convincing in your mind. And it's tactics like this that I've learned and kind of embodied through coaching that has really helped me just, I think, snap out of it in a quicker way. Like in the past, I would spend probably, I don't know, weeks just thinking about this one small thing that happened. Whereas now it's like, okay, I spend an hour, I think about it, like ask, is it true? I'm like, no, this is the evidence, and move on to the next. So seen as like we're talking about obviously getting a mentor, what makes a great mentor-mentee relationship? Because I think there's such a difference, like we talked about, like the mentee, you have to show up and do the work. You can't expect it to be just magically transformed in just one session. It's what you're doing after that session and outside of the session. But what makes for a powerful session? Either of you can take it on.
Maybe I could start it off. Like I mentioned before, with mentorship, there is a personal connection, or what can I say, an almost admiration of what the person has achieved in their career, and you kind of want to emulate that, and you want to achieve that level of success. Either it's in your career or it's in something specific that they do, that you want to be more like that, and you want them to help you get to that level of excellence. So what that means is, if you're selecting a mentor, that admiration, for starters, needs to be there, that you're actually looking up to them, and there's something specific that you feel you can learn from them, and that they can help you build the skills. And it doesn't have to be that they have to be in your industry or exactly what you're doing. No, they could be in a completely different industry, but maybe they're very great leaders, and you want to build your leadership skills. Or you just think they're so confident and you want to build your confidence, and that's what you want to gain from them. So it doesn't always have to be very technical, but there should be something that you have identified in yourself that is a key to your success, and they have it, or they seem to have it, and you want to tap into that. But perhaps even more importantly, when I thought about this, was, I think your values really come into play here, because I don't think you can have a mentor who you don't share similar values. And I think that's the base of that admiration. When you say you admire somebody, or you want to build a legacy, or a profile that's more like them, it's really because your values are aligned in one way or another. So in trying to identify a good mentor, understand, or get a sense of what their values are, or which value you are trying to build in yourself that they have, because then it's a stronger foundation. It's a deeper relationship that you will build with this person, as opposed to just maybe what they've achieved, or what they can do for you. And that then also demonstrates a difference between mentorship and coaching, because then there's such a deeper connection when you're trying to find a mentor. Whereas for a coach, because it utilizes a specific professional process, etc., it doesn't have to go to that extent. Although, of course, with values, you cannot go against your values and be in a relationship where you feel your values are not being respected. So I would say be clear on your values and how they are aligning, and how this mentor can help you be in more alignment with your values and reach your goals.
Absolutely. I definitely see a relationship with my coach like a relationship I would start with the dating someone or something, right? You really need to know and understand who you're going to essentially spend like very deep conversations, like time to just really get to know each other on another level that you're not really comfortable saying to anyone else. And yeah, like you really need to nurture that. So spend time with that person that you feel is a great mentor or a coach, because yeah, like your values have to align, you have to be on the same page. And at the end of the day, I think it's also being so clear on expectations and your agreement with how you work with your mentor or a coach. Because if you're on different pages and you come to a session and it's just all over the place, or you're trying to tackle too many things in one go, it's essentially just going to make you feel probably even more overwhelmed, or thinking about more things that you probably weren't even considering. So definitely having like those clear expectations from each other. How are you going to work together? Is it weekly sessions? Is it bi-weekly? How deep are you willing to go with your coach to really bring out all the hidden even insecurities that you can tackle together? So Kieran, when would be the right time to seek mentorship or to seek coaching?
Yeah, I've just been furiously writing away because so many things are coming to mind. So first of all, I would just start with saying my hope and vision for the world is embodied leadership. And what I mean by that is that the people we're looking up to are walking their talk. They're really someone who, like you said, is living those values. And when I think of mentorship and coaching, which of course are types of leadership, I think that's really important. So there is, like we said, I'm not sure, there is like almost confusion around the difference between mentorship and coaching. And there's added confusion because even different coaches and mentors define it differently. So I really, before even looking to a title, it's really, who is this person? And like you said, with dating, is there that resonance? Is this somebody, as Nasserine was talking about, that I admire or is calling me forward into being the type of leader, the type of person that I want to be? Because then you're going to, as a mentee, really value this relationship and be able to get the most of it. In terms of when to seek it, I actually think everybody would so benefit from receiving coaching or mentorship. Whichever stage you're at, I think there will be the right type of support for where you are. And it's also when you've exhausted all your internal resources. You've reached that point where you're like, okay, if I want to take this further, it's going to happen through support. And in terms of the question as to like what makes a good mentee, the main thing I look for when I'm working with people one-on-one, the main thing is willingness. So it's not like you don't have to be, I've done this before. Okay, I can give the example with gymming. I've done this before where I'm like, I need to get to a certain level of fitness before I can even go to the gym. And it's not true. You can go at the beginning. And it's the same with coaching. You don't need to have reached a certain point to be able to deserve coaching or deserve support. Wherever you're at is good enough. All that is going to be the difference between someone who gets results and doesn't is your willingness and to kind of face the stuff that's going to come up, and then also actually doing the work, committing to this vision that you have, leaning into that support. And a good session, I think, is both a safe space and a brave space. So somewhere where there's no judgment, like you said. So that's the safety of it, that you can admit that things aren't going as you want to, or you can admit the kind of limits that are coming up for you. But it's also a brave space in that it calls you into the version of yourself that you can be. You want a coach who doesn't see you as, or a mentor who doesn't see you as a problem that needs to be fixed, but really sees your potential and is able to see that version of you even perhaps before you can fully see it. It makes such a difference having someone whose actual full focus in your relationship, different from a friendship, because in friendship there's other things, but a mentor or a coach, their full focus is on calling you forward into the next version of yourself.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So with these final thoughts, we end our first panel of today. Thank you so much to our amazing speakers. I've definitely gained a lot more insight, and I hope you guys have too. And don't forget to sign up for your free trial of the LMF e-platform network to build your career and confidence. It's on the LMF website. And yeah, stay tuned for our next panel, which is going to be how to turn your passion into a business. Thank you so much, guys, for joining, and see you soon.
Thank you for